The assembly hall of Crossroads 7 stretched upward like a crystal cathedral, its transparent walls offering a view of stars that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Ambassador Maria Torres stood at the central platform, her brown eyes steady as she faced representatives from 50 different worlds. The human woman looked small compared to many of the alien delegates, but her voice carried the weight of an entire species when she spoke. Distinguished members of the Galactic Assembly, Torres began. Her words translated instantly into dozens of languages through the neural transmitters. Earth comes before you today not with threats, but with a warning born from concern for all peaceful civilizations. Admiral John Blake stood beside her, his weathered face marked by years of military service. The datapad in his hand contained evidence that had taken human intelligence services 5 years to compile. Behind them, Commander Alex Reed monitored incoming transmissions from Earth's fleet, stationed just outside the neutral zone. The atmosphere in the hall grew tense as Torres continued. The Dominion Empire has moved 3 full battle fleets into Sector 7. They claim it's for military exercises, but our intelligence shows otherwise. 20 cargo vessels carrying colonization equipment follow behind their warships. This is not practice. This is preparation for conquest. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The smaller civilizations, the swimmers of Aqua Prime, the crystalline beings of Shard, the gentle farmers of Green Haven, all shifted nervously in their designated areas. They knew Sector 7 bordered their territories. Emperor Vex rose from his throne-like seat, his massive form casting shadows across the polished floor. Standing 9 feet tall, covered in scales that shimmer between purple and black, the Dominion ruler commanded attention through sheer physical presence. His forearms spread wide in a gesture of mock surprise. The humans speak of conquest? Vex's voice rumbled like distant thunder. How amusing. Your species has barely learned to travel between stars, yet you presume to lecture those who have ruled space for 3,000 years? Torres didn't flinch. Age doesn't equal wisdom, Emperor, and our short time in space has taught us to observe carefully. Admiral Blake, please present our findings. Blake stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. Star systems appeared in brilliant detail, with ship movements tracked in red lines. Over the past decade, the Dominion has annexed 17 systems using the same pattern. First, they claim territorial disputes. Then they establish military outposts for protection. Finally, when local governments protest, they discover evidence of rebellion and move in with full force. The display shifted, showing the ruins of a bombed city on Kepler 442. This was Haven Colony, population 3 million. They refused Dominion protection. Within 6 months, they were labeled terrorists. Within 7 months, they were gone. They harbored pirates. One of Vex's generals, a 6-armed creature named Tor, protested. The Empire brought order. They harbored refugees. Reed spoke up from his station, his young voice cutting through the noise. We have the communication logs. Those pirates were families fleeing previous Dominion expansions. The swimmer's representative, a translucent being that moved in an aquatic sphere, pulsed with bioluminescent concern. What? What does Earth propose? Torres straightened her shoulders. We propose a simple agreement. Any civilization that requests it will receive Earth's protection. We will station defensive platforms in their systems and share our shield technology. We ask nothing in return except the right to protect innocent lives. The hall erupted. Some species clicked in approval, others hissed in fear, and many simply stayed silent, afraid to choose sides. But above it all, Emperor Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Protection? He stepped down from his platform, each footstep echoing ominously. You have, what, 30 warships? 50? The Dominion commands thousands. Your colonies are scattered and weak. Your home world is one planet, while we control hundreds. What protection could you possibly offer? Blake's jaw tightened, but Torres placed a calming hand on his arm. She faced the Emperor directly, despite having to crane her neck to meet his eyes. We offer the protection of a species that has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. We've learned something from each disaster: how to endure, how to adapt, and most importantly, how to stand together when facing bullies. Bullies? Vex's scales shifted to a darker shade, a sign of anger among his species. You dare. I dare speak truth in this neutral space, Torres interrupted, her voice gaining strength. That's what Crossroads 7 was built for. Honest dialogue between species. So here's Earth's honest position. We've seen your conquest pattern. We've calculated your next targets. And we're telling you, publicly, in front of every civilization present, if you attack any peaceful world, you will face human resistance. The silence that followed felt like the vacuum of space itself. Even the constant hum of the station's life support seemed to pause. Vex's 4 hands clenched into fists, his scales now almost black with rage. You threatened the Dominion Empire? We warned the Dominion Empire, Torres corrected. There's a difference. A threat implies we want conflict. A warning means we're trying to prevent it. Stand down your fleets in Sector 7. Return to your recognized borders. Choose peace, and we all prosper. Choose war. Double quotes. She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Choose war, and you'll learn why humanity's greatest warriors always fought hardest when protecting others. Vex moved closer, towering over the human delegation. His breath smelled of sulfur and metal. You speak of warriors? Your species still uses projectile weapons. You've never fought a real space war. You know nothing of true combat. Blake finally spoke, his voice carrying the gravity of personal experience. Emperor, I've studied every major conflict in galactic history. The Dominion's victories come from overwhelming force against smaller opponents. You've never faced an enemy that punches above its weight class. Humans? We've been doing that our entire existence. And there's something else. Reed added from his station, his fingers flying over his console. I'm reading massive energy signatures from your ships in Sector 7. Those aren't standard military exercises. You're already planning to attack, aren't you? The Emperor's aide whispered urgently in his ear, but Vex waved him away with one of his lower arms. His eyes never left Torres. What we do in open space is no concern of yours. Human, it becomes our concern when you threaten innocent lives, Torres replied. This is our final diplomatic warning. Emperor Vex of the Dominion. Turn your fleets around or face the consequences of your actions. The challenge hung in the air like a charged particle beam. Other species began backing away from the confrontation, some literally leaving the hall. They could feel the shift in the atmosphere, from diplomatic tension to the prelude of war. Vex raised all 4 arms, his voice booming across the hall. Let all present bear witness. The Dominion Empire does not bow to threats from upstart species. If humanity wishes to protect the weak, then they can die alongside them. Any world that accepts human protection will be considered an enemy of the Dominion. Any ship bearing Earth's flag will be destroyed on sight. He turned to leave, his entourage scrambling to follow. But at the doorway, he paused and looked back. You want to protect the galaxy, humans? Then prepare to burn with it. We'll see how long your species lasts against true power. I give you 1 Earth rotation to reconsider. After that, any human presence outside your home system will be considered an act of war. As the Dominion delegation departed, Torres activated her communication device. All Earth vessels. Code yellow. Repeat. Code yellow. Diplomatic solutions have failed. Blake was already coordinating with Earth Command. "How long do we have?" Reed's face had gone pale as data streamed across his screen. "Admiral, I'm getting emergency signals from 3 colony ships near the border. They've gone silent in the last 5 minutes." Torres closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with steel resolve. He didn't even wait for his own deadline. "Ma'am," Reed's voice cracked slightly, "the last transmission from the colony ship Hope's Journey. They reported Dominion warships emerging from hyperspace before the signal cut out." Blake turned to the remaining assembly members, many of whom stood frozen in shock. "You all witnessed what happened here. Earth offered peace and protection. The Dominion chose war. Remember this moment. Remember who started this." The swimmer representative pulsed rapidly, colors indicating extreme distress. "What will you do now?" Torres looked at the aquatic being with a sad smile. "What humans have always done when facing tyrants. We fight. Not because we want to, but because standing by while innocents suffer isn't in our nature." As the human delegation prepared to leave, a small insectoid species representative approached. Its compound eyes reflected countless images of Torres. "Ambassador, can Earth truly stand against the Dominion?" Torres paused at the door, looking back at the assembly hall where the future of the galaxy had just been decided. "Ambassador Click, humanity once fought a war where a nation of our own stood against an empire that seemed unstoppable. They had fewer ships, fewer soldiers, fewer resources. Everyone said they would fall in weeks. They held out for years and eventually won. Not through superior numbers, but through determination and innovation. But this is different," Click clicked nervously. "This is space warfare. The Dominion has experience. The Dominion has experience fighting those who fight like them." Blake interrupted. "They're about to learn what it means to fight humans. We don't just bring weapons to a war, Ambassador. We bring imagination, adaptation, and the absolute refusal to let bullies win." As they left the hall, Reed received another update. "Admiral, Earth Command is implementing Protocol 7. Blake nodded grimly. "Protocol 7, the activation of humanity's hidden defensive networks, prepared over 50 years for exactly this scenario. Send word to all human colonies and allied worlds. The warning has been given. The Dominion has chosen war. Now they get to live with that choice." Torres added quietly, but loud enough for the recorders to pick up. "We tried to warn them. History will remember that humanity sought peace. What comes next, ... That's on Emperor Vex." The lights of Crossroads 7 dimmed as the human delegation departed, as if the station itself sensed the darkness that was about to descend upon the galaxy. But in that darkness, humanity would prove that sometimes the smallest flame burns the brightest, and that those who fight for others fight the hardest. The war for the galaxies. Freedom had begun. 2 weeks had passed since the warning at Crossroads 7. The galaxy held its breath, watching and waiting. Most civilizations expected to hear news of humanity's swift defeat. Instead, they witnessed something that would be remembered for millennia. Admiral Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Decimator, as it emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the New Hope system. The Dominion's finest military commander, veteran of 100 conquests, allowed himself a small smile. The human colony below had a population of just 2 million. His fleet of 50 warships would reduce it to ash within hours. "Status report," Vorn commanded, his 3 eyes scanning the tactical displays. "All ships accounted for, Admiral," his lieutenant, a younger officer named Krell, responded. "The colony has 2 orbital defense platforms, and what appears to be 5 civilian cargo vessels. They're not even trying to evacuate." Vorn's middle eye narrowed. Strange. Every species attempted evacuation when faced with Dominion might. "Communication. Open a channel to the colony. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a middle-aged human man in simple work clothes. Governor Tom Wilson stood in what appeared to be a control room, but he wasn't wearing military uniform. Behind him, other colonists went about their tasks with an unsettling calm. "Governor Wilson of New Hope Colony," Vorn announced, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. "I am Admiral Vorn of the Dominion Empire. Your world has been selected for annexation. Surrender now, and some of you may live as servants of the Empire. Resist, and none will survive." Wilson took a sip from a cup of something. Was that coffee? Before responding, his voice carried a strange accent, something Earth historians would recognize as Texan. "Admiral, we received your message loud and clear. Our response is simple." He set down his cup and looked directly into the camera. "Come and take it." The transmission ended. Krell made a sound of disbelief. "They dare mock us? Admiral, should we commence bombardment?" "No," Vorn said slowly, studying his sensors. Something felt wrong. The colony was too calm. The cargo ships hadn't moved. And there was something else. Minor energy readings scattered throughout the system, probably debris or asteroids. "Launch fighters for reconnaissance. Have the fleet advance in standard formation." As the Dominion fleet moved deeper into the system, space around them began to change. What appeared to be debris started moving with purpose. Thousands of small objects, no bigger than escape pods, suddenly came alive with energy signatures. "Admiral!" Krell's voice rose in alarm. "Those aren't asteroids." "They're some kind of drones." The swarm moved like a living organism. Each drone was tiny, primitive by Dominion standards. Simple thruster systems, basic navigation, and a single payload. But there were so many. The tactical display showed over 10,000 of them, hidden throughout the system's asteroid belt, now converging on the fleet. "Point defense systems activate." Vorn commanded. "Destroy those primitive machines." The Dominion ships opened fire, their advanced weapon systems tearing through the drones by the hundreds. But for every drone destroyed, 10 more seemed to take its place. They moved in complex patterns, some sacrificing themselves to shield others, creating paths through the defensive fire. Then the first drone reached the shield of a Dominion destroyer. The explosion was small, barely noticeable. Then another hit. Then another. The shield held, but warning lights began flashing. "Admiral," the science officer's voice was tight with disbelief, "those drones are carrying antimatter charges. Small ones, but 100 drones hit the destroyer simultaneously. Its shields collapsed like paper in flame. The ship itself followed seconds later, torn apart by dozens of tiny suns blooming against its hull. Impossible," Vorn breathed. Antimatter was incredibly difficult to produce and contain. How had humans created so many weapons? Governor Wilson's face appeared on the screen again, uninvited. "Admiral Vorn, those drones cost us about as much as one of your fighter craft. We've been seeding them throughout our system for 5 years. Want to know how many we have?" Before Vorn could respond, space itself seemed to bend. The massive mining stations around New Hope's 3 moons activated in unison. But they weren't mining anymore. The gravity manipulation technology used to extract resources from asteroids had been weaponized. 3 Dominion cruisers suddenly found themselves pulled in different directions. Their hulls, designed to withstand enemy fire, weren't built for gravitational shear. Metal screamed and twisted. One ship tore in half, its crew exposed to the vacuum of space. Full retreat. Vorn ordered, but as his ships tried to turn, 3 human vessels emerged from behind the colony's largest moon. They weren't impressive to look at, blocky, utilitarian designs that looked like someone had strapped engines to a warehouse. But they moved with a speed that defied their appearance. The lead human ship broadcast a single message: This is Captain Lisa Park of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked a human colony. Now you face the consequences. The human ships didn't engage in the traditional broadside exchanges the Dominion expected. Instead, they struck like predators, hitting from unexpected angles, targeting specific systems, then vanishing behind debris fields or gravity distortions. Their weapons were kinetic, primitive by galactic standards, but accelerated to near light speed. When they hit, shields meant nothing. Physics was physics. "Admiral, we've lost 7 ships." Krell reported, panic creeping into his voice. "How are they doing this?" Vorn watched the tactical display with growing horror. The humans weren't fighting like any enemy he'd faced. They weren't trying to match the Dominion's firepower. They were using the entire star system as a weapon. Automated weapons platforms hidden in asteroids. Gravity wells that appeared and disappeared. Drone swarms that seemed endless. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildup from the colony's surface." The science officer reported. VORN looked at the planet below. The entire colony was glowing. They WOULDN single quotes T. They would. Wilson's voice came through again. "Did you know that every fusion reactor can be overloaded to create a directed energy pulse? We have 300 reactors powering our colony. All of them are aimed at you." The night side of New Hope lit up like a star. 300 beams of pure fusion energy lanced into space, converging on the Dominion formation. Shields designed to stop laser fire and plasma weapons couldn't handle the raw thermal energy of miniature stars. 5 more. Dominion ships simply ceased to exist. Retreat. Vorn roared. "All ships, emergency hyperspace jump." But as the fleet tried to escape, they discovered another surprise. Several drones attached to their hulls weren't carrying antimatter. They were carrying something else, hyperspace disruption fields. Small ones, not enough to prevent jump entirely, but enough to make calculations difficult. 3 Dominion ships attempted to jump and simply disappeared, not into hyperspace, but into wherever ships go when jump calculations go wrong. The rest managed to escape, but not before losing half their number. As the battered Dominion fleet limped away, Admiral Blake's face appeared on every emergency frequency in the galaxy. He stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Perseverance, which had just arrived at the edge of the system. "This is Admiral John Blake of Earth Defense Command. The Dominion Empire attacked a human colony and lost 25 warships to 3 human vessels and a colonial defense network. Let me be clear. New Hope is 1 colony. We have 312 colonies. Each one is prepared like this or better." Blake paused, letting the words sink in across the galaxy. "The Empire thought our technology was primitive because we still use kinetic weapons and nuclear reactors. They forgot that primitive doesn't mean ineffective. A rock is primitive. Accelerate it to 90% of light speed, and it will punch through any shield ever made." He held up a datapad. "I'm transmitting the tactical data from this battle to every civilization in the galaxy. Study it. Learn from it. The Dominion Empire relies on overwhelming force and superior numbers. But they fight by predictable patterns. They expect enemies to meet them with similar tactics. Humanity doesn't fight that way. We learned our warfare in gravity wells, where every joule of energy matters. We learned to hide, to ambush, to turn environment into weapon. We learned that the deadliest warrior isn't the strongest. It's the one who refuses to fight on the enemy's terms." Back on New Hope, Governor Wilson stood in his control room as damage reports came in. They had lost nobody. 0 casualties. The defensive drones could be replaced. The gravity weapons were still functional. The colony itself was untouched. He opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Torres, this is New Hope. First strike repelled. The Empire knows we can fight now. Torres, watching from Earth's strategic command center, nodded. Well done, Governor. But this was just the beginning. They'll come back with larger fleets. Let them come, Wilson replied, looking at his colonists who were already beginning to rebuild their drone network. We held with 3 ships and colony defenses. Wait until they see what our actual fleet can do. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had cowered before the Dominion for generations watched the tactical recordings in amazement. The humans had lost nothing but replaceable drones. The Empire had lost half a fleet and their aura of invincibility. On the Dominion throne world, Emperor Vex watched the battle recording for the 5th time. His scales had turned a deep purple of rage. How? He demanded of his generals. How did primitives destroy our ships? General Tor stepped forward carefully. Emperor, they didn't fight like primitives. They fought like survivors. Every tactic was designed to maximize damage while minimizing risk. They turned their entire system into a weapon. Then we burned their systems, Vex snarled. All of them. Mobilize the entire fleet. If humanity wants to protect the weak, they can burn alongside them. But in the depths of space, human ships were already moving. Each one carried the same message to smaller civilizations. You are not alone. We stand with you. The first strike had failed. The war had truly begun. And humanity had just taught the galaxy its first lesson. Never underestimate a species that clawed its way to the stars through determination alone. In her cabin aboard the Perseverance, Captain Park wrote in her log, "The Empire expected us to fight with honor, meeting them ship to ship in open combat. They forgot that humans wrote the book on asymmetric warfare. We're not here to fight fair. We're here to win." The colony of New Hope had earned its name. It had given the galaxy something it hadn't felt in generations. Hope that the Dominion could be beaten. Asterisk, 1 month into the war, Emperor Vex stood on the bridge of his personal dreadnought, the Eternal Throne. Around him, 200 Dominion warships hung in formation, the largest fleet assembled in 3 centuries. They had come to end humanity once and for all. Mars in visual range, Emperor, reported Admiral Zach, who had replaced the disgraced Vorm. The humans have fortified, their solar system's 4th planet as expected. Vex studied the red planet through the viewscreen. His scouts had reported massive weapon installations on Mars and its moons. The humans thought they could repeat their colonial defense strategy here, closer to their homeworld. They were wrong. Emperor, General Tor interrupted, his 6 arms gesturing at the tactical display. We're detecting energy signatures from Phobos. The moon has been ... changed. Indeed it had. What was once Mars's larger moon had been hollowed out and converted into something else. Metal structures covered its surface like a cancer, weapon ports and sensor arrays pointing in every direction. It was no longer a moon. It was a fortress. Predictable, Vex rumbled. They turned moons into weapons. We have seen this strategy. Begin the assault. Overwhelm their defenses with numbers they cannot match. The Dominion fleet surged forward, hundreds of ships firing in coordinated volleys. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes rained down on Phobos like a storm of light. The fortress moon's shields flared and howled, returning fire with surprising intensity. But something was wrong. Admiral Zach noticed it first. Emperor, the human ships ... They're not engaging. They're retreating? Asterisk 20 human vessels that had been defending Mars were pulling back, not toward Earth, but in seemingly random directions. Some headed for the asteroid belt. Others moved toward Jupiter. A few simply stopped in empty space. Cowards, Vex spat. They abandoned their fortress. Focus all fire on Phobos. Crack it open. As the Dominion fleet concentrated their assault, space around them began to fill with strange energy readings. particles that shouldn't exist in vacuum, quantum fluctuations that made no sense. On Earth, Admiral Blake stood in the Strategic Command Center, a massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, dozens of officers coordinated humanity's true response. Ambassador Torres was there too, along with Commander Reed and the brightest minds humanity had produced. Asterisk. Quantum entanglement network is online, Dr. Smith reported. She was young, barely 30, but her work on quantum mechanics had made this moment possible. All platforms are connected, Blake nodded. Show them what humanity learned while they were conquering worlds. The revelation began slowly. The retreating human ships stopped at precise coordinates and activated devices that had been hidden in their hulls. Not weapons, but something far more sophisticated. Quantum entanglement transmitters, each one connected to weapons platforms hidden throughout the solar system. Platforms that had been built in secret over 50 years. Suddenly, every human weapon in the solar system could fire with perfect coordination. Not just communication, true, instantaneous coordination across millions of miles. When a platform near Neptune detected a weakness in a Dominion shield, a platform near Mars could exploit it in the same nanosecond. The Dominion fleet found itself under attack from every direction at once. Kinetic rounds fired from the asteroid belt. Energy beams from Jupiter's moons. Missiles from platforms hidden in Saturn's rings. All perfectly coordinated. All impossible to predict or counter. Asterisk. Impossible. Admiral Zack shouted as his ship rocked under impacts from 3 different directions. They can't coordinate across such distances. Light speed lag doesn't apply to quantum entanglement. Emperor Vex finished, his 4 eyes widening in understanding. They've broken the communication barrier, but that wasn't the true revelation. As the Dominion ships tried to retreat, to escape to hyperspace, they found they couldn't. Their drives simply wouldn't engage. Commander Reed's voice echoed across every frequency, broadcasted from Earth to every corner of the galaxy. Attention all vessels and civilizations. What you're witnessing is humanity's gift to the galaxy. We've developed technology that creates a localized hyperspace disruption field. No ship can enter FTL within its range. Asterisk. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. Without FTL escape, the Dominion's hit-and-run tactics were useless. Their ability to concentrate forces from across their empire was gone. Every battle would be fought at sublight speeds, where tactics and strategy mattered more than raw numbers. But here's the real gift. Torres's voice took over the broadcast. We're transmitting the specifications for this technology to every civilization, every world, every species that wants it. Free, no conditions. No payment required. Across the galaxy, receivers lit up with incoming data. The complete technical specifications for hyperspace disruption technology. Small civilizations that had lived in fear of sudden Dominion attacks suddenly had a defense. The playing field hadn't just been leveled, it had been transformed. Back at Mars, the Dominion fleet was experiencing the full consequence of this revelation. Unable to escape, they had to fight. And in a stand-up fight, without the ability to retreat and return with overwhelming force, they were discovering what humans had known all along. Wars aren't won by the biggest gun, but by the smartest strategy. The human fleet, still only 20 ships, danced through the Dominion formation. They used the gravity of Mars and its moons to slingshot around attacks. They hid in the sensor shadow of destroyed Dominion vessels. They fought like humans had always fought, dirty, clever, and absolutely ruthless when protecting their home. Emperor, we've lost 60 ships. General Tor reported. We must retreat. We cannot retreat. Vex roared. Their disruption field is about to be turned off. Blake's voice cut through their communications. Emperor Vex, you have one chance. Power down your weapons, surrender your fleet, and you can leave. Continue fighting, and we activate Phase 2. Phase 2? Vex's scales shifted to a color his crew had never seen. White, the color of fear among his species. Dr. Smith smiled grimly as she entered the activation codes. Phase 2 is showing them what we didn't share. The disruption field doesn't just prevent entering hyperspace. With a few modifications, it can force ships already in normal space to experience ... irregularities. She pressed the final key. Every Dominion ship suddenly experienced gravity differently. Not crushing gravity, but inconsistent gravity. The bow of a ship might experience 2 Gs, while the stern experienced 0. Crews trained for combat couldn't function when walking, required recalculating every step. But humanity's ships, designed by a species that evolved in a gravity well, adapted instantly. Their crews had trained for this. Their ships had gyroscopic stabilizers. They moved through the chaos like sharks through churning water. "Ceasefire," Emperor Vex commanded, his voice breaking. "We yield. Deactivate your weapons." The disruption field powered down. Dominion ships slowly stabilized. The Emperor himself stood on his bridge, all 4 arms hanging limp, watching as human vessels surrounded his fleet. "You could have destroyed us," Admiral Zack said quietly. "Why didn't you?" Blake appeared on their main screen. "Because we're not conquerors, Admiral. We're protectors. Your ships will be escorted out of our system. Your weapons will remain powered down. And you will carry a message to every Dominion world." "What message?" Vex asked, though he already knew. "That the age of empires built on fear is over," Torres said, appearing beside Blake. "Every world now has the means to defend itself. No single power can dominate through superior FTL capability. The galaxy belongs to all its inhabitants, not just the strongest." As the Dominion fleet was escorted away, their crews noticed something else. Ships were arriving at Mars, not human ships, others. The swimmers of Aqua Prime, the crystalline beings of Shard. Dozens of species, all coming to stand with humanity. "You didn't just defeat us," Emperor Vex said to Blake in a private communication. "You've ended our way of life." "No," Blake replied. "We've given you a chance for a better one. The Dominion can still exist, Emperor, but as one civilization among equals, not as conquerors. The choice is yours." Back on Earth, celebrations were muted. This was victory, but not conquest. In schools, children were already learning the new reality. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through force, but through sharing knowledge. A young student raised her hand in class. "Teacher, why did we give away our advantage?" "We could have ruled everything." Her teacher, an old veteran who had fought in Earth's last war before reaching the stars, smiled sadly. "Because, little one, we learned something important from our history. Power shared is peace earned. Power hoarded is war guaranteed. We didn't want to rule the galaxy. We wanted to free it. Meanwhile, on 1,000 worlds, scientists studied humanity's gift. The technology was real, functional, and impossible to counter. The strategic implications were staggering. No empire could maintain control over distant territories if any rebellious world could prevent FTL access to their system. The Dominion Empire, built on the ability to strike anywhere at any time, found itself facing uprisings on 12 worlds within days. Not violent rebellions, but declarations of independence backed by hyperspace disruption fields. The Empire couldn't respond to all of them, couldn't maintain its grip. On the bridge of the Eternal Throne, Emperor Vex received report after report of systems declaring independence. His empire was crumbling, not through conquest, but through the simple addition of a defense that made conquest impossible. "The humans," he said to General Tor, "they didn't defeat us in battle. They made battle irrelevant. What do we do, Emperor? Vex looked at the stars, seeing them differently for the first time in his long life. Not as territories to conquer, but as homes to different peoples, each now capable of defending themselves. We adapt, he said finally. Or we die. The humans have given us no other choice. In Earth's Strategic Command, Admiral Blake received confirmations from across the galaxy. Hundreds of civilizations had successfully implemented the disruption field technology. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had shattered and reformed into something new. What have we done? Reed asked, looking at the tactical display showing a galaxy transforming in real time. We've given everyone a voice, Torres replied. Now we'll see if the galaxy can learn to sing in harmony instead of crying in conquest. Blake added quietly. And if the Dominion tries to develop a counter to our technology, ... Dr. Smith pulled up another file, marked Phase 3, Confidential. Then we show them what else we've been working on. The disruption field was our warning shot. We've got 50 years of hidden research. Technologies will only reveal if forced. The message was clear. Humanity had revealed one game-changing technology and implied they had more. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of empires was ending. The age of alliance was about to begin. But Emperor Vex, staring at his crumbling empire, had one last card to play. If he couldn't rule the galaxy, perhaps no one should. In the deepest vault of his throne world lay a weapon from an earlier age, a planet killer that predated even the Dominion. If we cannot have the galaxy, he whispered to himself, then Earth shall not have it either. The revelation was complete. Humanity had shown their hand. Now the galaxy would learn if it was enough to prevent the Emperor's final, desperate gambit. 3 months into the war, the galaxy had transformed. The Dominion Empire, which once controlled a third of known space, now held less than half its original territory. Not through conquest, but through liberation. Humanity had changed tactics, from defense to calculated offense. Captain James Carter stood in the cargo bay of his stealth ship, the Ghost Walker, addressing his team of 20 specialists. They weren't regular military. They were teachers, engineers, and diplomats armed with knowledge instead of weapons. Listen up, people, Carter said, his voice carrying the weight of dozen successful missions. Aqua Prime has been under Dominion control for 50 years. The swimmers who live there have never known freedom. We're not going in guns blazing. We're going in smart. Asterisk. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Eva Ross, pulled up a holographic display of the water world. The Dominion has 3 orbital platforms and a garrison of 500 troops. They control all technology, all communications. The swimmers are forced to harvest minerals from their ocean floor. But here's what the Dominion doesn't know. Carter smiled. The swimmers have been hiding their true capabilities for generations. They're not just simple ocean dwellers. They're brilliant engineers who work with biotechnology. They just need someone to show them how to weaponize it. The Ghost Walker dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Aqua Prime system, immediately activating its stealth systems. The ship didn't become invisible. That was impossible. Instead, it broadcast false signatures, appearing as a piece of debris, a solar fluctuation, anything but a human vessel. 3 days later, Carter's team made contact with the swimmer resistance in the deepest trench of their ocean. The beings were beautiful in their alien way. Translucent bodies that pulsed with bioluminescent communication, tentacles that could manipulate objects with incredible precision. The eldest swimmer, calling herself Deep Current in translated speech, pulsed with colors of hope and fear. The Dominion will destroy us if we resist. They have weapons that can boil our oceans. They won't get the chance. Carter replied, breathing through the specialized apparatus that let humans survive in their liquid environment. We're not asking you to fight them directly. We're going to teach you something better. Over the next week, Carter's team worked with the swimmers, showing them how to modify their biotechnology. The coral-like structures they grew for buildings could be altered to generate electromagnetic pulses. The algae they cultivated for food could produce compounds that corroded Dominion armor. The sonic communication they used could be amplified to disrupt electronic systems. "You're not giving us weapons," Deep Current observed, her color shifting to understanding. "You're showing us how to turn our world into a weapon." "Exactly," Ross confirmed. "The Dominion thinks controlling the orbital platforms means controlling the planet. They're about to learn otherwise." The uprising began during the planet's tidal celebration, when the three moons aligned and created massive waves. The Dominion garrison, as always, ignored the cultural event. They didn't notice the unusual algae bloom spreading through the ocean. They didn't detect the modified coral growing up the anchors of their floating platforms. Then, at the moment of highest tide, every swimmer on the planet sang in unison. Not their normal communication, but a focused sonic attack that Carter's team had helped them develop. The harmonics, amplified through the planet's ocean, created vibrations that shattered every piece of Dominion equipment simultaneously. The garrison troops, suddenly without weapons or communications, found themselves facing an ocean that had turned against them. The water itself, infused with bioelectric organisms, shocked anyone who tried to enter. The platforms, their systems corroded by modified algae, began to sink. Within 6 hours, Aqua Prime was free, but Carter didn't stay to celebrate. This was happening across the galaxy. Human strike teams, each adapted to specific worlds and species, were teaching resistance movements how to fight back, not with human weapons, but with their own unique advantages. On the desert world of Scorched Haven, humans showed the silicon-based natives how to use their natural resistance to heat to sabotage Dominion cooling systems. On the ice planet Frozen Hope, they taught the crystalline inhabitants to resonate at frequencies that shattered Dominion armor. Each liberation was broadcast across the galaxy. The message was clear. Every species had the power to resist. They just needed to learn how. Admiral Blake coordinated the offensive from the command ship Endurance, now stationed at the liberated world of Haven Prime. The tactical display showed green light spreading across the galaxy map as world after world declared independence. "Sir," Commander Reed reported, "we're receiving a priority message from our intelligence network. The Emperor is mobilizing his core fleet. 500 ships, all heading for the Forge Prime system." Blake studied the display. Forge Prime was the Dominion's primary shipyard, capable of producing a dozen warships simultaneously. If they lost it, their ability to replace losses would cripple. "He's making his stand there," Blake said. "Gather the Alliance fleet. It's time to show the galaxy what unity looks like." The call went out across liberated space. For the first time in galactic history, multiple species would fight together under a unified command. Ships from 20 different worlds began gathering at the staging point. The diversity was staggering. Sleek swimmer bioships that looked more grown than built. Crystalline shard vessels that refracted light like living prisms. The rocky, asteroid-like ships of the mountain dwellers of Stone Home. And binding them all together, human vessels serving as communication hubs. Their quantum entanglement networks, allowing perfect coordination despite the language and technology barriers. Captain Park, now promoted to Commodore, commanded the mixed squadron. "Remember, people," she broadcast to the fleet, "we're not trying to conquer. We're trying to liberate. Forge Prime has a population of 3 billion enslaved workers. Our job is to free them, not destroy them." The battle for Forge Prime began with deception. The Alliance fleet appeared to attack from one direction, drawing the Dominion defenders out of position. Then the real assault began, not from space, but from within. Carter's teams had spent weeks infiltrating the planet, making contact with the enslaved workers. When the space battle began, So did the uprising. Factories that produced weapons suddenly started producing explosives. Shipyards that built warships began dismantling them. The entire industrial apparatus of Forge Prime turned against its masters. Emperor Vex watched the battle from his throne world, his scales shifting through colors of rage and despair. General Tor stood beside him, all 6 arms hanging in defeat. Emperor, Forge Prime has fallen. The Alliance took only minor losses. Our fleet, 90% destroyed or surrendered. How? Vex demanded. We had superior numbers, superior positions. They had unity, Tor replied simply. 20 species, all fighting as one. Our forces couldn't adapt to their combined tactics. The swimmers jammed our sensors with bioelectric fields. The shard beings refracted our energy weapons. The humans coordinated everything with their quantum network. And the uprising ... Silence, Vex commanded, turning to a console that hadn't been activated in 1,000 years. If the galaxy will not accept Dominion rule, then it deserves Dominion justice. He entered codes known only to emperors, passed down through generations. Deep beneath the throne world's surface, an ancient weapon began to wake. Not Dominion technology, but something older, found in the ruins of a civilization that had destroyed itself eons ago. Emperor, Tor said, recognizing what was happening, the planet killer ... We don't fully understand how it works. The ancient warnings said, The warnings said it could crack a world like an egg, Vex interrupted. Earth thinks they've won. They think their unity and their shared technology can stop us. Let them try to stop this. The planet killer was massive, the size of a small moon. It moved slowly, ponderously, but inexorably toward Earth. Its design was wrong somehow, angles that hurt to perceive, technology that seemed to bend reality around it. In Earth's command center, alarms began screaming. Dr. Smith looked at the readings in disbelief. That's not possible. The energy signature. It's manipulating dark matter directly. Can we stop it? Torres asked. I don't know, Smith admitted. This is technology beyond anything we've seen. It would take our entire fleet just to slow it down. And even then ... Blake made the hardest decision of his career. All ships, all Alliance vessels, converge on Earth. We make our stand here. Commander Reed looked at the tactical display, calculating odds. Sir, even with everything we have, the probability of stopping that weapon ... is near 0, Blake finished. I know, but we're going to try anyway. Because that's what humans do. We stand up to bullies, even when the odds are impossible. Across the galaxy, ships began moving toward Earth. Not just human vessels, not just Alliance ships, but vessels from worlds that had remained neutral. The broadcast of the planet killer had shocked everyone. This wasn't war anymore. It was potential genocide. The small insectoid ambassador from Crossroads 7, Click, sent a message to his people. The humans stood for us when we were weak. Now we stand with them. Even former Dominion officers, disgusted by their emperor's actions, began defecting. Captain Crix, who had served the Empire for 50 years, broadcast on all frequencies. This is not strength. This is the desperation of a tyrant who would rather destroy than admit defeat. Any Dominion soldier who still has honor, now is the time to prove it. The stage was set for the final confrontation. The planet killer moved through space like death itself, while around Earth, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled. Ships from over 30 species, former enemies now standing together, ready to face annihilation rather than let tyranny win. Captain Carter, racing back from his latest liberation mission, looked at the massive weapon on his sensors. You know, he said to Ross, when I joined the service, I never thought I'd be fighting moon-sized ancient weapons alongside alien allies. *. Ross smiled grimly. Humanity always did dream big. Now we get to prove those dreams mean something. All ships. Blake's voice echoed across the fleet. The enemy thinks that weapon will break our spirit. They think fear will scatter us. They're about to learn what the galaxy looks like when it stands united. Prepare for final engagement. The planet killer continued its approach, unstoppable, inevitable. But between it and Earth stood something the Emperor hadn't calculated, the combined will of free peoples who had learned that together they were stronger than any empire. The hunt was over. The final battle was about to begin. 6 months after the war began. The planet killer moved through space like a monument to ancient hatred. Its surface rippled with energies that predated current civilization, technologies that turned matter into void. Around Earth, 3,000 ships from 30 species formed humanity's last line of defense. Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of the Endurance, watching the weapon approach. It would reach Earth in 6 hours. Every simulation, every calculation said the same thing. They couldn't stop it with conventional weapons. Admiral, Dr. Smith's voice crackled over the comm. I've been analyzing the weapon's energy patterns. It's not just destructive, it's wrong. It violates fundamental physics. Whatever civilization built this, they were playing with forces that shouldn't exist. Can you find a weakness? Blake asked. Maybe. The weapon seems to create a reality distortion field. It literally unmakes matter at the quantum level. But that process requires incredible coordination. If we could disrupt that coordination, we'd need to get inside it, Commander Reed finished. Past shields that our weapons can't penetrate. Blake was about to respond when an unexpected voice cut through the communication. I'll do it. Everyone turned to see Captain Crix on the screen. The Dominion defector stood on the bridge of his stolen Empire warship, the Pride of Conquest, now renamed the Redemption. Captain Crix, Torres said from Earth Command, what are you proposing? The planet killer has Dominion command codes for passage. My ship can get close. If your Dr. Smith can give me something to deliver into its core, It's suicide, Blake stated flatly. Yes, Crix agreed, his scaled face showing what humans had learned was determination. But I've spent my life following orders that destroyed worlds. Let me end it saving one. The humans showed us that strength isn't about conquest. It's about sacrifice for others. I finally understand that. Dr. Smith worked frantically with her team. Within an hour, they had a solution. A quantum virus designed to disrupt the planet killer's coordination. It needed to be delivered directly to the weapon's core. I'm going with you, a voice said. Captain Carter had arrived with his team, his ship docking with the Redemption. You'll need someone who knows human tech to activate the virus. As will I, Deep Current announced, the swimmer leader floating in her mobile aquarium suit. My people's bioelectric abilities might help navigate the weapon's interior. One by one, representatives from different species volunteered. Not for glory, but for the chance to stand together against annihilation. The crew of the Redemption became a microcosm of the new galaxy, former enemies working as one dot as the planet killer loomed larger. The united fleet began their assault. Not to destroy it. That was impossible, but to distract it. Thousands of ships firing in coordinated waves, trying to draw its attention away from the small Dominion vessel approaching its surface. The Redemption used its Empire codes to pass through the weapon's outer defenses. Inside, the team found corridors that defied understanding. Gravity flowed in different directions. Time seemed to stutter. The very air whispered with the voices of the dead civilization that created this monstrosity. There, Dr. Smith's voice guided them through their comms, somehow still connected despite the interference. Energy readings suggest the core is 3 levels down. But be careful. The internal defenses are activating. Ancient guardians, Machines that looked like geometric nightmares emerged from the walls. The team fought desperately, each species contributing their unique abilities. The swimmers used bioelectricity to short-circuit mechanical horrors. The crystalline shard beings refracted energy beams around corners. Humans provided tactics and adaptability. They lost people. Good beings who had traveled across the galaxy to stand against tyranny. Each death was marked, remembered, even as the survivors pressed forward. Finally, they reached the core. It was beautiful and terrible, a sphere of pure dark energy, unmaking and remaking reality around it. To look at it directly was to risk madness. How do we deliver the virus? Carter asked, the device in his hand seeming insignificant against such power. Crix stepped forward. The same way the Dominion delivered pain for millennia, directly. He took the device, and before anyone could stop him, walked into the dark energy sphere. His scream echoed through dimensions as his body began to dissolve. But he kept walking, kept pushing forward. The virus activated, spreading through the weapons control systems like fire through dry grass. The planet killer shuddered. Its steady advance toward Earth stuttered, stopped. The dark energy core began to pulse erratically. Everyone out. Now, Carter commanded. The survivors ran through corridors that were reshaping themselves, reality breaking down around them. They reached their ship just as the weapon's core went critical. Asterisk, but they were too close to escape the blast. All ships. Blake commanded the fleet. Tractor beams on the Redemption. Pull them clear. 3,000 ships, working in perfect synchronization through humanity's quantum network, grabbed the small vessel and yanked it away from the exploding planet killer. The ancient weapon died in a burst of light that outshone the sun, taking with it the last symbol of tyrannical power. The cheers that erupted across the fleet were in 100 languages, but the sentiment was universal. They had won, not through superior firepower, but through unity and sacrifice. Emperor Vex watched the destruction of his ultimate weapon from his throne room. General Tor and his other advisors had already fled. He was alone, as perhaps he had always been. The door to his throne room opened. He expected human soldiers, come for revenge. Instead, Ambassador Torres walked in, accompanied by representatives from dozens of species. She was unarmed. Emperor Vex, she said formally, you have a choice. Stand trial for your crimes against the galaxy. Accept the judgment of those you oppressed and help build something better. Or flee now, live the rest of your days in exile, knowing you lost not to superior force, but to the unity you said was impossible. Vex looked at the assembled beings. Swimmers whose world he had enslaved. Shard beings whose culture he had tried to erase. Humans whose warnings he had mocked. He saw no hatred in their eyes, only determination. Why? He asked, why not destroy me as I tried to destroy you? Because, Torres replied, that would make us no better than what we fought against. The galaxy needs justice, not revenge. Healing, not more destruction. The Emperor stood, his massive form towering over the delegation. For a moment, everyone tensed. Then, slowly, he removed his crown and set it on the throne. I choose exile, he said quietly. I'm too old, too set in my ways to help build what you envision. But I won't stand in its way. As his ship departed for the unknown regions, the Dominion Empire officially dissolved. Its former territories were given choice: join the new Galactic Alliance or remain independent. Most chose to join. 3 weeks later, Crossroads 7 hosted the largest gathering in galactic history. The same hall where humanity had issued their warning now held representatives from every known civilization. Admiral Blake, scarred but proud, stood beside Ambassador Torres. Captain Carter was there, along with the survivors of the Redemption mission. Even some former Dominion officers attended, Ready to help build something new, Torres addressed the assembly. 6 months ago, humanity warned the galaxy about the danger of unchecked power. We were mocked, dismissed, and attacked. But we were also heard by those who dreamed of freedom. Today, we don't celebrate victory in war. We celebrate the birth of something greater. She activated a hologram showing the new Galactic Alliance Charter. Its first article, written by humanity but refined by dozens of species, appeared in every language simultaneously. No single species shall dominate another. In diversity, we find strength. In unity, we find peace. In sacrifice, we find meaning. Every voice matters. Every life has value. Together, we are more than the sum of our parts. As the charter was signed, a young alien child, one of the insectoid species, approached. Commander Reed, why did humans fight so hard for worlds that weren't your own? Reed knelt down to the child's level, smiling. Because once, long ago on Earth, we needed someone to stand up for us. Bullies pushed us around, and we had to learn to push back. Now we're strong enough to be that someone for others. That's what being human means, not letting others face darkness alone. But you could have ruled everything. The child clicked in confusion. You had the technology. The unity ... Ruling isn't strength, Reed replied. Real strength is helping others stand on their own. We didn't want subjects. We wanted friends. We wanted neighbors. We wanted a galaxy where every child, no matter what species, could grow up free.